The work got slow, and I was like the last to get there, so I'd be the first to leave. And I got laid off right at November the 14th.
After 20 years of steady work, brick mason Alton Tisdale lost his regular paycheck last fall, an economic victim of the pandemic. From there, though, his troubles got even worse.
I went to the unemployment office and I couldn't get through. I filed my claim and that went through, but they said I had an outstanding issue and I could never find out what it was.
As the months wore on, the 59-year-old Tisdale had to move in with his elderly mother.
I tried and they said it's been processed and I filed every week, but I never received any benefits.
He also had to borrow money from an old friend whose house he had helped build years ago.
You just have to know Alton Tisdale. He's a really great guy. He works hard.
That good friend, Alan Mullis, also tried to get answers from the Virginia Employment Commission.
Then I got involved with the VEC trying to get his benefits, and I couldn't get anyone to answer. I took him to the office. They wouldn't come to the door.
Mullis contacted CBS 6 to see if we might be able to get through to the VEC.
I'm so happy that you took my call and helped out, and he's been a friend to me for a long time.
We reached out to the VEC about Tisdale early last Friday and got an email just after 3 saying simply his case was resolved this morning. We called Tisdale to let him know, and a short while later, someone at the VEC called him to tell him he would be getting his benefits.
After you called me, commission from unemployment office, he called and said it had been resolved, that I was receiving my benefits on Monday.
That was also welcome news to Tisdale's good friend and benefactor.
My last resort was to call you guys, and thank God you responded to me and helped out. And I am so grateful because he is a person that pays into the system. He doesn't try to abuse the system.
Very, very frustrating. Because, like I said, I'm an IT guy. I understand that, programs go wrong, they go awry, they do this, they do that.
58-year-old Sal Fama is among the dozens of CBS 6 viewers trying to navigate the Virginia Employment Commission website or phone line without success.
I went through the phone system, put it in, waited about 3 or 4 days, didn't see any checks. So I said, well, let me call back in and see what's going on. And it asked me again to put in for the week ending February 13th, 2021. So I did that. At the end of the phone call, it says, you've been confirmed.
But Fama had actually been getting benefits on and off for about a year. Then his required weekly work update got stuck on one day.
It again asked me for the same week ending 2/13/21. And I'm like, well, I've already done it twice. All right, let me do it a third time. So I did it a third time, waited another few days, did not get anything. So that's when I called you guys.
The spokesperson for the VEC told us claimants must start a new benefit year after being in the system for 52 weeks. So Fama thought he could fix his issue by correcting his profile online. But then he got several screens that he, someone quite familiar with computers and software, couldn't figure out. He checked off the programs he was in, but then was asked to submit more documents. But what documents? He tried to call.
So I've been calling that number. And what happens there is you get to a point where it says, all of our customer service people are busy, call back another time. So there's no prompting to say, leave a message, we'll call you back.
We went back to the VEC spokeswoman, Joyce Fogg. How do you fix Fama's situation, which surely many claimants face? We got this response. You should not be enrolled in 2 programs. You have to apply for regular UI, unemployment insurance, first, and be denied before you can apply for PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. Fama thought he had been denied and thought he had applied for PUA. But sorting that out by, say, talking to a VEC caseworker is apparently not going to happen.
It's kind of sad, actually, because, IT is IT. I understand problems happen. You can't get this to work or that to work. It's just very frustrating and unfortunate that they can't get things together. And at least respond, if not to me, at least to you.
Countless Virginians not getting the help they need, and they're desperate. Tonight we have complete, in-depth coverage. We're bringing you a special edition of The Rebound Richmond as we take a closer look at the state's employment crisis. Thanks for joining us. I'm Candace Burns. Countless people have reached out to the problem solvers with issues and concerns involving the Virginia Employment Commission. Our Bill Fitzgerald is anchoring our coverage from the state capitol this evening. Bill?
Candace, the pandemic has taken the lives of more than 10,700 Virginians and disrupted our school, work, and home lives for more than a year now. The economic toll has been as great as the personal one. Take a look at this graphic. It shows an unprecedented tsunami of layoffs, which began in early April of last year, with new claims going above 100,000 for several weeks in a row. The surge in unemployment led to more than 1.6 million claims being filed. That's more than the 10 previous years combined, with the state channeling some $13 billion to some 1.3 million recipients. But while the scale of emergency need has never been greater, Virginia has lagged nearly every other state in how quickly it processes both requests for benefits and then appeals. Now, these are the stories of some of the Virginians being left to wait seemingly endlessly. We begin our coverage tonight with a problem solvers investigation. Our Brendan King spoke to the lead attorney who is suing the state in a class action lawsuit over issues with the VEC. He tells us what they're asking for, how many Virginians will be represented by the suit, and what the likelihood is of winning a suit against a state agency. Brendan?
Yeah, that's right, Bill. A single mother is one of 5 plaintiffs taking the state to federal court here in downtown Richmond over unemployment issues. Since going public with this class action lawsuit about 2 weeks ago, they say they've heard from hundreds of Virginians, all with very similar problems.
For over 6 months, I've been calling and nobody answers. Nobody picks up.
September 2020, the last time Amber Dimmerling says she received any unemployment benefits from the Virginia Employment Commission.
It's really hard. It just makes me feel bad because I feel like there's like really nothing I can do until somebody reaches out to me.
The single mother from Northern Virginia lost her job at a restaurant during the start of the pandemic, but her benefits suddenly stopped in the fall.
Every time I've tried to claim, they say there's no weeks to claim, or there's outstanding issue, and I've been calling since October, not able to talk to a live person.
Now she's going to court.
It is a story the CBS 6 problem solvers have been following throughout the pandemic. Now legal action is being taken against the state agency.
We hope that Governor Northam gets the message that it's time to fix the system, and the time is now.
Pat Levy-Lavelle with the Legal Aid Justice Center represents Demmerling and 4 plaintiffs in a class action lawsuit against the VEC.
We've already heard from hundreds of folks just in response to the lawsuit since it was filed.
He says about 400 other Virginians have contacted him, also struggling with getting their funds.
What the VEC has been doing is instead, when an issue is identified for thousands of Virginians like Ms. Demmerling, is cutting off benefits while they then wait to decide the underlying issue. And that's exactly the backwards of how it's supposed to be.
According to federal law, VEC has 3 weeks to decide unemployment eligibility. The lawsuit says the state failed to do that 95% of the time. They say nearly all claims are taking 10 weeks or more.
So what have you been able to learn about the VEC? Why are the issues so prevalent? Why is Virginia ranked last?
One is that the VEC hasn't adequately staffed up.
He argues VEC only doubled the number of adjudicators who work on processing claims, from 35 to about 70, when neighboring states have gone big.
Maryland recently signed a $70 million contract to bring on over 300 deputy adjudicators via a private contract with a big staffing agency.
A VEC spokesperson tells CBS 6 they have approximately 100 individuals employed as claim adjudicators, most of them hired within the last year.
It's been over a year for Virginia to catch up, take bold steps like other states are doing, and they just haven't.
The attorney hopes a federal judge will rule that the state is violating the constitutional rights of the plaintiffs. He says similar legislation in New York and Rhode Island was successful. While the Northam administration won't comment on pending litigation, they say VEC has paid out $13 billion to 1.3 million people, more than over the last 10 years combined.
I'm sure there's people who have worse stories than I do.
Demmerling has since moved back in with her mother. as she continues to wait for a call.
Just waiting for answers and just not wondering day to day what to do.
And the governor's office tells us right now they are in negotiations with a private vendor to provide additional employees to process claims. Much more to come tonight at 11. We'll tell you why the VEC is using a benefit system that is 41 years old and when they should be getting an upgrade. That's all new tonight at 11. Working for you in downtown Richmond, I'm Brendan King, CBS 6 News.
My particular situation, it's actually a very easy fix.
Getting a debit card in the mail.
That never showed up.
That's all Middlesex resident Mitch Johnson says he needs to access the hundreds of dollars he believes he's been paid from the Virginia Employment Commission since February.
As weeks go by, still nothing in the mail.
Johnson lost his job as a chef at the beginning of the year and applied for unemployment in February.
I received the initial mailings that you hear them speak of, the financial determination, and then the obligatory letter that basically explains to you how you need to maintain your account on a weekly basis. So that gave me confidence that I had filed correctly.
But without that VEC debit card, he says he was forced to apply for food stamps.
It was through that process that they actually truly confirmed to me that there was, they obviously are connected interstate with that information, and they informed me, they said, you're receiving unemployment benefits.
So Johnson applied for another card and figured a call to the VEC would resolve the problem immediately. But he says he hasn't been able to get anyone on the phone in 2 months.
It was consistently automated recordings, giving very poor direction, very inaccurate information.
Some lawmakers have pushed the VEC to improve their communications with those like Johnson who need answers. Nearly 6 weeks ago, Senator Mark Warner wrote a letter to Governor Ralph Northam asking him to accelerate VEC's process of dispersing benefits to unemployment insurance. In that letter, Warner writes, quote, "I hope you can agree that for constituents still experiencing delays, the lack of pandemic unemployment insurance is unconscionable." Now, 6 weeks later, Warner sent CBS 6 a statement reading in part, quote, "I continue to hear from Virginians who are struggling and they deserve a compassionate and urgent response. I continue to be in communication with Governor Northam's office as they continue working to provide much needed support to our friends, family, and neighbors."
My office is there for people who want to make themselves heard.
Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger says her office has also contacted state unemployment leaders on behalf of the thousands of unemployed Virginians who've reached out to her because of issues with benefits.
We are continuing to advocate with the state. We recognize that there has been a tremendous backlog, and most importantly, that it's difficult to get people on the phone.
But neither Warner nor Spanberger have any control over the VEC since it's a state-run agency.
I would just urge people to keep pushing. We are working on it. I know the state is working to improve.
CBS 6 caught up with Governor Northam Tuesday.
We're actually bringing in individuals from other agencies, adjudicators is what they call them, to help really deal with this backlog and make it more efficient and get people that need those services to get them their resources. I know patience is not a good word, but I would ask these people that are still relying on those unemployment checks to really continue to work with us, and we're going to get to them as soon as we can.
Meanwhile, Johnson, like many Virginians, continues to wait for help. He says he's thankful for the support of his small community and remains hopeful his card will arrive in the mail.
Maybe my story will open the eyes to say that, oh, okay, well, maybe there's a certain percentage of these people that are experiencing issues that are actually quite easy fix.
In Richmond, Caroline Colburn, CBS 6 News.
5 months, no income.
When Sion Kennedy was let go from his management job at a Henrico Rehab Center in January, he never expected to still be waiting on his unemployment benefits.
Right now, I'm a little over $10,000. And that's my benefits plus the extra $300.
The father of 3 from Richmond found out from the Virginia Employment Commission that a scammer attempted to claim unemployment benefits in Tennessee and Texas using his Social Security number.
I've never lived anywhere else other than, in the United States, other than Virginia. That's it. I've never been to Tennessee. I've never been to Texas.
While the VEC conducts a fraud investigation, Kennedy waits and waits.
I've called him and plead to him like, look, I'm in jeopardy of losing everything. Like, can somebody help me?
And he's not alone. Numerous CBS 6 viewers tell us they email and call the VEC on a daily basis, struggling to get the benefits they say they deserve, or just reaching a human on the phone. The CBS 6 problem solvers uncovered documents proving VEC leadership knew about flaws within their systems for years. In 2010, a state report revealed VEC's primary systems were more than 25 years old and were limiting management's abilities to obtain timely information and react to changes in the environment. 11 years later, and not much has changed. CBS 6 has also discovered the VEC has been working to upgrade their benefit system for the past decade. They call it UI-MOD, or Unemployment Insurance Modernization Project. The total budget for UI-MOD is $58.5 million. We wanted to know, why has it taken so long to implement this new system?
That was actually going to be last June in 2020. We had to put that on hold in March.
We spoke to Dr. Megan Healy, the Chief Workforce Advisor for Governor Ralph Northam. Her office oversees the VEC.
The last time we actually modernized our system was in the 80s, and so we are a little behind, but we are working hard to get that system up and running definitely by the end of this year.
Healy argues before the pandemic, Virginia's unemployment rate was one of the lowest in the nation.
Or 2019, we had 1/10 of what we've had in 2020, so we've had actually 10 years of claims in 1 year.
She says the VEC has been understaffed and underfunded for years since the agency was not seen as a priority.
I was even talking to our deputy commissioner today. He's in the basement pulling cables so we can have more people, employees within their basement. So it's all hands on deck. They are extremely busy, working weekends, working nights. We've done tens of thousands of hours in overtime pay. They are extremely busy.
An analyst from Wallet Hub told CBS 6 that some states were able to fix or upgrade outdated unemployment systems over the past year, but Virginia has not. Healy says they've since tripled their staff and working to add additional employees through contractors. She says Virginians who are eligible for unemployment receive them within 21 days, more than 84% of the time. It's the cases with issues that are taking the longest to resolve, like Kennedy's. But he says his family just can't wait anymore.
If it goes any longer, I don't think we're going to be living here pretty much.
January, February, March, April, May, nothing.
5 months. That's how long Caroline County resident Margot Farag says she's been waiting to receive the unemployment benefits she believes she's owed.
This isn't fair.
The single mom lost her job at the beginning of January and applied for benefits just 4 days later.
After I'm filing my weekly claim every Sunday, it's saying back to me, your claim has been accepted and is being processed, but then there's no payment. Like, what's the issue?
Farag says she received a monetary determination letter from the VEC, but was told online there was an issue with her account. And just last week, she learned her claim was denied, but with no explanation.
Still don't know the outstanding issue on the account.
After weeks of calling the VEC, she says she still can't get a representative on the phone.
You could hear the phone hanging up. And I'm like, what is going on?
Farag is worried Virginia's outdated benefit system could be to blame for some of her issues.
I've seen that on the unemployment site that they're using like a system that's like 40 years old or something. And I'm like, 40 years old.
The last system upgrade took place in the 1980s. Meanwhile, 5 hours down the road, South Carolina, which was hit hard by the pandemic with half of its hospitality industry jobs wiped out in 1 month, is using a system that was updated 4 years ago. The South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce, or DEW, says in 2017, the U.S. Department of Labor offered a grant to any states who partnered together to modernize their unemployment insurance systems. That fall, both Carolinas teamed up, chose a vendor, and upgraded. In the first 9 months, DEW estimates the new system saved them more than 13,000 hours of labor and an estimated $865,000 a year. Fast forward to 2020, South Carolina was one of the first states to implement the federal Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, which provided 13 extra weeks of benefits to many. Meanwhile, Virginia lagged behind. A DEW spokeswoman said in a statement, quote, "We know our modernized system made the implementation of the programs a much quicker turnaround. Ultimately, our claimants benefited from this because we could process claims faster and pay out benefits faster to those who were found eligible."
Yeah, it was pretty simple.
Charleston resident Rosalind Hayward says applying and receiving benefits was a speedy process for her when she lost her job a year ago.
I think I was released on a Friday. I applied that Tuesday, and that following Tuesday, I had a check. And normally that first week, they said you won't get a check. So that first check came really, really quick.
The veteran also notes when she had issues, she was able to speak to someone on the phone, likely because South Carolina also grew its call center staff by 12 times the number of employees prior to the pandemic, while Virginia added 8 times as many staffers. And the VEC still misses 2 out of every 3 calls.
That would really frustrate me because to no end.
But South Carolina's system, while updated, isn't perfect. When Hayward went to apply for benefits in April after completing a 6-month temporary job with the federal government, she says she was locked out.
I had issues with the system accepting my claim. I keep getting an error message.
And she struggled to get someone to fix the problem because she says call center staff weren't fully aware of how to handle a federal claim. 7 weeks later, she finally received half of her payments. And while frustrated, she says she can't imagine the months some Virginians have gone without even being able to speak to a representative on the phone.
I'm praying for those people in that area because that is ridiculous.
Dr. Megan Healy, the chief workforce advisor for Governor Ralph Northam, oversees the VEC, and she told CBS 6 the agency is in the process of modernizing its system.
We had to put that on hold in March.
She adds another reason those upgrades haven't happened is because the agency has been understaffed and underfunded for years, since Virginia's unemployment rate before the pandemic was one of the lowest in the nation.
They're so behind.
As for Farag,
I have not given up. I'm not going to give up.